Welcome to the Strategic Insights Podcast. My name is Andrew Makl. I'll be your moderator today. Today we have a hot topic. So some of these different podcasts we like to cover partner spotlights, products, solutions. This one is more of surrounding methodology and a topic of conversation that comes up in a lot of our user groups. Today the topic is going to be surrounding historical data and what to do about it when you're upgrading and going about your business. Today joining me on the podcast is Paul Kennedy. He's our Senior Business Solution Executive. Paul's the lucky guy that has the level of experience in industry that we drag in to sit down and talk with business leaders about what they're going to do with their data, what their options they have, and how they should go about really looking at what to do depending on what their long-term strategies are. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks, Andrew.
So, Paul, when we talk about historical data, a lot of times this is planning for upgrades, or if you acquire a company and you're going to move their system over to the solution you're running. What do you do with that type of data? Obviously, I drag you into a lot of conversations with customers. What do those look like, and how do these conversations start, and what should they really be looking for?
It's funny that this conversation is something that everybody tries to avoid.
It is.
It's not glamorous. It's dealing with what you've had in the past, and it's really, really important.
It is. It's very, especially with industry requirements. With some of them, you have to maintain that data for 7, 10, 15 years. Right. And whether you think it's accurate data or not is not the question. You still have to maintain it due to compliance.
That's right. Yeah. When we do an upgrade, for instance, we have two real methodologies for doing an upgrade. One's a conversion, which really converts all of your legacy data, all of your old QAD data into your new environment. Or what we call a realignment, where we actually, rebuild that environment. We pull your master data, we cleanse your master data, and we load it all essentially manually. The pros and cons are really clear for that. To do a conversion, of course, you get all of your data. So it's a non-problem. You don't have to deal with historical information. But the con to that is you're pulling across all your bad data, all your change data, your master data that's just junk and can cause confusion. And then, of course, when you do an upgrade, you want to get the best out of the system. So our realignment really lets you redesign completely your structure and lets you be more productive and take better advantage of the software. So what leaves behind, of course, is the historical data, and you got to figure out what you're going to do with that. First thing you need to do is you have to really understand your policies. What do you need to do about managing that data? What are your requirements? It can come from legal requirements and internal policies. So large organizations will have data retention policies that have to be followed. But really it boils down to asking the question to those people who hold those decisions, typically finance, what do they need? Did they need everything? And this question needs to be asked because people assume that you need all of your historical data, and that's not the case. Sometimes sometimes you may just need your invoices, your POs, your documents. And other times you may need to carry across all of your historical data, all of your legacy data, transactional data for auditing. Depends a lot on the region you're in and your requirements. So that's something that we try and walk our customers through to understand, first of all, what do you need to keep? Because it can be pretty expensive, honestly, and there's a lot of consideration. So I put down here for us to talk about 3 main points to consider here. The first one, of course, are the different paths, right? Different options you have. You can maintain your legacy environment, right? So literally you've got that. If you have an on-premise instance, for instance, that can keep running. There's nothing to stop you from running that. As long as you stay with your QED maintenance on your new environment, there's no charge from QED for that. That's one primary option. Whether it's on-premise or cloud, you can maintain it. But typically what happens is when you're doing an upgrade, it's because there's an old system, you got old data, and you need to deal with the hardware potentially. Hardware, the operating system could be out of support. You've got to have a solution for that because you can't just bury your head in the sand because of the auditing requirements.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
The second option really is hosting. So QED can host that. So if you have, for instance, your on-premise, QED can literally take that environment and host it for you. But of course, Strategic can host it for them also. So if you use Strategic's hosting services, it's a professional data center, data protection, supported operating system, and of course, it's easily accessible. And that's something that we do a really good job of. We have a great team that manages that, and we can essentially turnkey that for a customer to host it for them. And then the third approach and third option path is an extension approach, where once you have that understanding about what data you have to maintain and keep, then we can create an extension literally and pull that data across into another solution where in your new QED environment, you can access it. There's a large number of options available to that solution. You just got to go through and understand what are the requirements and what are the options. And that's what we like to do. And, slowly explain that to our customers, have them consider it, talk to their people internally, and then we can essentially do anything they need.
Mm-hmm. I think the important point to make, you highlighted those three main areas, and they can work kind of in step by step. What I mean by that is, if you're on a historical system, as we both know, and you're going to go do a realignment because your business probably has changed since you started using that 10 years, 15 years, however long ago. So we know that a realignment's the better process approach. And if you have a solution that's running on premise, that's fine with your hardware. You can, for the time being, until your hardware comes close to becoming a problem, you can run those licenses and use it as a historical database. Now, when it becomes a problem, we move you over into a hosting option, right? So it allows people to phase into it, but still maintain their data in the same manner. Just who's going to be your security for your hardware and maintaining your solution may change due to your aging infrastructure. The other part that I thought was very interesting is a lot of times we have to worry about what people are bringing over for data when we're doing acquisitions. You're going to be moving to a new ERP. Well, it's not technically a realignment, but what are you going to do with that historical data when you move them into a new solution? And whether it is using one of those partner products where it is a solution set that's managing your data in the cloud, or whether it's bringing it in depending on what historical data you may need, whether it be monthly, yearly, so on, to meet that requirement. Those are things that we all need to break down to make sure, because like you said, bringing it over in a conversion, if it's only a couple of year old software year to year, model to model, whatever you want to call it, it's not that big of a deal, right? But when we talk about the conversion effort from, let's say, 7-year-old product, it's labor intensive. It's an undertaking.
It's costly.
It's very costly.
And it may fail.
And that's the problem. Everybody looks at it and it's like, it's a great idea in principle, but the cost has to outweigh the benefit. The cost benefit has to be there. And a lot of times it's not, and we have to really bake that out. But I think that as long as everybody that's looking at this, when they go, hey, I've got to really look to what I'm going to do with my historical data, it's a good time to contact Strategic and have a deeper conversation with someone like yourself that's been through a number. Well, be nice, because I know our time in industry is different. A number of upgrades and projects where you've had to scope this out and really help executives come to a decision on what's the best path forward.
Yeah, and living it too. I've literally had to manage this in the past. We're dealing with multiple environments where you just kick the can down the road. You can do that for a while, but ultimately you have to manage it. You got to have a plan.
Yeah. So when people are looking at how you're going to manage your historical data, please reach out to Strategic Information Group. We've got the skill set, the people, and of course the capabilities and products to support you depending on what you take as your path forward and manage that historical data moving forward. So Paul, thank you for your time today on this hot topic, and hopefully people will reach out to learn more.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Paul.